And I definitely fall within that service mindset because I think at the end of the day, customer service is what really drives, how can you best serve your clients is really what drives success in this industry.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, your co-hosts, myself, Matt, and he, Garrett, are with you. And we also have an incredibly special guest, my good friend, broker in Charlotte, North Carolina with Compass and co-owner of Clockwork Realty Group, Mr. Wes Collins. Thanks for joining us, my friend. It's good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Always great to see you. And you sold yourself short. I thought that was great.
Oh, well, thank you.
We had a little discussion about how well Matt was going to do on the intro before. Matt, you did a great job. I think you did a great job.
I always strive to do my best, which is a core element that I think everybody should take away from this podcast so far is just put your best foot forward, bring the energy. And that is something, Wes, that you do like all the time. Right. I mean, we've been working together since 2019, which has been amazing. Just kind of seeing your career over time, and a little bit of background for the people who don't know you. You were a teacher, right? And then
long ago,
you decided to like, hey, let me go get into this real estate thing. And turned out you were kind of a natural at it, and you just kind of rode this ride, but you put in a lot of intentional effort. But there are also a lot of really interesting things that happened to you along that journey that a lot of realtors face that we're going to get to pull out of the story today. So I'm excited to dive into this. Garrett, good morning to you too, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. And I'm excited to go down this path. Right before we started, and it was kind of a side note that Wes threw out, he talked about the 3 stages that we go through in life and in growth. And he talked about being in the learn, the earn, and the legacy phase. And I think for all of you listening out here, you're going to get a little bit of probably the first 2 pieces of this, because really Matt, nor Wes, nor myself are in our legacy phases of our career and our business yet. We are working our way towards that. And I think that you're going to get a lot of the learning area out of today's conversation, and then also really understanding stepping into this earning space that we all go through. And so I think anybody who's listening to this is going to get some great takeaways. Wes, grateful to have you with us today. And we were joking about it also that we met long ago, and then Wes says rejected. I say I found a good place for Wes to go to, which was Matt Benelli. And again, grateful that you have just to still have you in my world, man. It's great.
It's an interesting perspective, Garrett, but I do appreciate that. And and yeah, it's okay. I'm used to rejection. That's half of what's in real estate's all about, right? And so, and I just lost a referral last night against another great agent, and I said, that's all right. I can't win them all. You get to the point where you just accept your fate. And so anyways,
really,
good to be here.
I gave you a gift many years ago by understanding that rejection happens and that
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. The gift that keeps on giving. So
Keeps
here
on
we
giving.
are, full circle, closing the loop. I mean, whatever you want to call it. No, this is good. So, and obviously Matt's been a great resource from coaching. I would also say hybrid accountability role, and keeping me on the straight and narrow, letting me know when I need to send in still some materials for my Prosecco and Post marketing campaigns. But again, that's not what today's about. And we certainly aren't going to touch on that again because those are super tardy.
Well, I think it's great for people to hear that no matter what level you're at, like, it's hard, right? There are things that we're always working on, different levels of organization that we got to go to. And, why don't we just dive in on the mindset piece? And there's so many things we want to cover, and we can cover your history. And I'm sure part of this, we'll talk about the transition from teacher to realtor and all that stuff. But you just brought up that you lost a referral, to another great agent last night. There's rejection that happens a lot in this business. So let's just start right there. Like, what did you think this business would be like when you got into it? And what was the things that you had to learn to build some resilience in your mindset to be able to get through the rejection that comes along with being in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think to start, like, I live in abundance, right? I mean, that's definitely the phrase that I say all the time. You know, no matter what it is, it's probably annoying to people that know me very well, because at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? And you can't win every single opportunity. I mean, Lord knows I wouldn't survive if I did. Um, and quite honestly, like at this point right now, I've got enough sort of in the pipeline that could I really have best served those people in that moment? Like, I don't know. And actually, I know to take it a step further, I know I couldn't because they're coming in town next week. I'm going to be in Denver for the Compass retreat. And I even told them, hey, I could connect you with one of my partners, but ultimately, they're not probably going to be best served. I'm not going to be there if their intent is to work with the same person through the entire journey. And that's okay. So I think a lot of that probably comes. I'm a big real estate ninja selling guy. Really enjoyed my installation, and that's how we first met. Is when you guys were there, um, and then yeah, I had no idea what real estate was about. I didn't have family members that were attached in the industry. Although my grandma always reminds me that my grandpa at one point was licensed and probably sold a house. Um, but that's cool. He was the first one. He was, yeah, my inspiration. And then coming from teaching, a lot of it really translates well because we're still teaching just bigger kids, sometimes more mature than the kids that I used to teach in high school. And now they just have a lot of money, and so yeah, it's been a good run. But I think just I'm always kind of cautiously optimistic. That's kind of my general outlook. But positivity rules, man. I don't think once you get in that negative, pessimistic, beat the crap out of yourself mindset, and I see a lot of people kind of worry warts right now, looking at things on a big macro level. I mean, you could get real down in the dumps about what's going on in the world, or you could just kind of focus on you and your people and see where that takes you. I prefer, the latter.
Well, you said it right up front, the abundance side of this. And the abundance mindset comes whether you have a lot of business or not a lot of business in the pipeline too. But when you have a lot, it makes it even easier to be in an abundant mindset. But you don't have to have all the business to be in an abundance mindset. I want to just say that real clear. But what it allowed you to do, what you just said is that it instantly allows you to put the client first. It's not about me trying to get this next sale. I need to have this next closing, which I understand there are people out there that like really need the next closing. But there's a huge win around that when you can say, you know what is best going to be served for this client? Because what a lot of people don't realize is you best taking care of that client actually brings in better energy out there about everybody that got to deal with Wes Collins and going, I was taken care of when I came into his world, which actually raises your energy up all around you. It makes the abundance mindset even better. So good for you for acknowledging that. It's a lot of times something that people want and they don't know how to get there, and you actually get there by putting yourself and saying, I am putting myself into an abundance mindset. So good job. No
Don't
question
get me
there, just
wrong. I mean,
acknowledgement.
real quick, don't get me wrong. I hate to lose, so I didn't like losing, and so abundance is great, but initially it was, "Oh, that sucks." But then, beyond that, it is what it is. So,
But
yeah, I'm
it's a good point though. It's like being in that state doesn't mean you're always just like, oh, that's probably the best for like everybody around me. Like there is that space in there. We're all competitive. We all want to grow. We all have goals. We all have things we're trying to accomplish. And there's that little space in there going like, what could I have done to been able to get that business? And there's that step off the side of going, okay, what is best for all parties here? So I think it's a good acknowledgement.
And I think too there's a positive and abundance mindset that creates a stable foundation, and then there is the competitive drive, the drive to do more that can come from that. And because that's something, Wes, that's been consistent year over year, is even when you hit really big years, you're like, yeah, that's cool. Like it's almost like the results when you're in that abundance place, whatever the results are, good or bad, you're just looking for, okay, what can I learn and how can I grow? And I think a lot of people get stuck in the, I just want to get so attached to these results that happen. And that's going to determine win or lose, where you look and you say, hey, whatever it is that happened, I'm looking for the next win and how to grow, and something that you've stacked up as you've kind of gone through this journey with different brokerages and different brands and things like that. And so How do you look at that? Like when you look ahead at your pathway and think back to, maybe 2019-ish going into 20, when you were, before you started establishing, brand names for yourself, so to speak, how did you look at going to the next stage? Like how did you approach growth? Was it just business planning, or was there a bigger goal in mind that you've always had that now you're starting to see get closer to as we fast forward from 5 years from that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always been to beat myself from the previous year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I always want to do better. And so I never want to settle and stagnate. And I had one year, uh, 2 years ago where I did dip. And yeah, again, that's where the competitor in me really, you know, I got ticked off. I got pissed off, and ended up from there. Just it propelled me to new heights this past year. And so, I mean, I think that at the very core of it is what I want to do. I think now, finally, in year 10 of doing this, now I have like visions of grandeur. I don't know. I would say that, but I have more of a vision of where I want, I guess, to go beyond just general brokerage day to day. I think there's so
Mm-hmm.
many different avenues and facets with real estate, and there's so many different just ways and avenues that you can go down. I mean, whether it's property management, which I would never touch, whether it's builder development, whether it's flips. I mean, there's so many different ways to find success in this industry. I think that's why people are just so drawn to it too, is because it's not just buy, sell, invest. It's what do you really want to do with it?
Now, is it income goals that you're sitting there and saying, okay, I could make more money doing these things? Or are you fascinated by those different parts of the industry? Because obviously you're not fascinated by the property management side, which I understand. So what is it that's driving you to say, well, what about this? What about this? What about this in this industry of real estate?
Yeah, I mean, I do love new construction. We've gone through and we've partnered with a builder, so we've done some flips personally. That has definitely been a great intrigue. I think being able to create this raw product, and I mean, even if it's dirt, right, and to build this unbelievable home on the back end, I mean, it really is kind of a beautiful thing to kind of see from beginning to end. I think flips really in the same way. Um, Having again sort of just that untouched, you know, I don't know, mineral or whatever you want to call it, and then kind of cutting it down into this awesome, basically this gem of a home, is pretty special too. So yeah, I do like that. I also think that that is a distraction. I've talked with Matt about this. I've got a new construction project right now that I'm personally invested in. I'm not going over there every single day because my day to day is not building that home, right? I'm not as handy as one might think, or I should be. And so, I think it's cool. I like seeing it in the different phases, but, you know, I'm not there every day. I'm maybe there every other couple weeks. My day to day is serving. My day is serving my people, my friends, new people that are introduced to me. And yeah, I think I've always just had, I come from a background. I mean, even before teaching, I've always been in the service industry. And I feel like you guys probably agree with this. There's two idealisms, we'll say, in real estate. One is sales and one is service. And I definitely fall within that service mindset because I think at the end of the day, customer service is what really drives, how can you best serve your clients is really what drives success in this industry. And you take a look at probably 99% of the people that you've had on this podcast, and they would all fall in that same service bucket.
Yeah.
Um, so,
It's
not that there's anything wrong with the other one, but
it's
Well,
who we
I'd
attract
argue,
in. Sorry, Matt.
and I'd argue we get paid on service in this industry. If you're taking the thing from I know you to now we've closed on a house, like when you look at like the actual sales and selling that client, like it's right up front, but you don't get paid when you make the sale. Like, great, we signed a listing, we signed a buyer agreement. Now we're working together. I sold you on my service. Now you need to go do the service in order to get paid. Yes, you're selling a house, but there's less sales there than people really recognize. It's a whole lot of service, a lot of understanding. Yes, there's negotiation, but that the sale's already been made to the client, so to speak. Right. And then you keep them coming back through great service. So yeah, kudos to you for leaning in on that. And with you have, I would say, a creative angle to a lot of things. And in choosing where you wanted to go on this journey, because there have been bumps in the road. Not necessarily. I mean, I know you had the 1 year where you were off of where you wanted to be, but from a financial path, like you've done fairly well. But from a mental and stress perspective, there's been bumps, right? And we've all had those bumps. And what was the moment for you in figuring out, because there are 1,000,001 ways to make money in this industry, right? And particularly as a realtor, you could grow a big team. And you decided actually like when you were starting Four Oaks, which we can talk about the whole brand journey too, you had said, I don't want a big team, but you were starting a team. You're like, I'm starting a team, but I don't want this to be something big. And there was a little bit of like, okay, well, what do you want to have, right? But then you did zero in on it. So what did you experience, or how did you go through that process to be able to decide? Because I think a lot of people sit there and go, well, I'm just supposed to build a bigger team. That's the only way I can grow. I just need to build a bigger team or sell more or never take vacation. But you have kind of figured that out for yourself. So what was the process that you went through to determine that?
The trial and error was the real name of the process. I mean, I think there's not necessarily, I mean, there's plenty of books, but there's not necessarily a playbook for what success looks like in this industry. And I think some of this may kind of dive into comparison mindsets, right? You look at what some of these different teams are that I look up to, friends of mine in the industry now that I've made. Some of these guys have built unbelievable teams. Right now, some of the top teams within Compass in Charlotte and even nationally. And so, but even before that, I always kind of looked up to these teams thinking, okay, well, if it's volume and it's sales, I can only do so much. And I must have to bring people in to be able to kind of build on that and grow. When in reality, I used to teach, maybe I thought that, hey, I could kind of guide some people in the way that I have done business and created a business towards success. And I think in reality, maybe I'm just a bad teacher, which could really be the problem with maybe a lot of my jobs. But I think ultimately, it wasn't what I wanted to do, and it didn't fill my cup. I didn't love it, and I think it took me 2 years of probably doing that to realize like this sucks. I thought it was EXP at first. No one's perfect. I did go there. And then I ended up over at Compass. They weren't in our market yet, in my defense. And so I did end up over at Compass, and I thought that would possibly be the fix too. But while it helped and I had more tools and more ways to serve people, it really wasn't until last year when I aligned with these guys, my business partners, and said, man, I don't want to have a team. Like, I don't want to be in charge of the team. Like, I would love to work with people and alongside people, and to have, someone, two people in this case, to run these ideas by, and to, have these friends, but also these partners to like grow alongside of. That's my goal in all of this. And I feel like we each have our buckets, things that fill them. Joby is definitely the mentor teacher guy. I really love to be in the business with people, talking with people, catching up with my people. And I think realizing that was, we talk about high time, right? And I'm never going to calculate it, but I think ultimately I know that most productive time for me is when I'm with my people and when I'm out serving, because that's what brings me joy. And so I think that ultimately has been the biggest part of really the more recent success, is kind of staying in my lane, knowing what brings me joy, being true to myself. We talked about authenticity and just being who I am. I am who I am, and really just loving on my people now that I have time to do just that and be kind of healthy selfish in a way.
Well, if you don't mind for a second, I want to kind of jump back to this. You said comparison mindset. You'd said it to us when we first started, comparison steals joy, and understanding that. And I watch a lot of people in our industry get stuck in this world where they're just constantly looking at the people around them. And even though they're doing extremely well, they're still looking at one up and going like, gosh, but I'm not there. Or, I mean, we do this in our world, with the cars we drive sometimes, or the houses we live in, or, what kind of soccer cleats we're able to buy our kids compared to what some other, parent was able to buy their kids for soccer cleats. And you're always in this realm. Part of it, I think, is being a competitive person. Just for a second here, as you were talking, I was thinking about like track and field. And in track and field, you can be part of the track and field team in the world, like in real estate. But there's all these different events that you go, you know what, I am in track and field, but what really resonates with me is the 400. But what really resonates with me is hurdles. What really resonates with me is, distance. And I think that hearing the learning process you've gone through here over the last couple years is finding that like event inside the bigger event that you're like, this is my lane. This is what really works well for me. What made you pick this path you're on right now of the size of the team, the vision that you have with this company? What made you say like, this really is my field inside this bigger sport that we're playing?
Yeah. It's a great question. I mean, great analogy too. I think well done. Kudos. I think just from a, outside of real estate standpoint, these guys in particular are just good. Like they're just good men, right? They're good, godly men. And honestly, maybe in a time of my life where I needed that. And I needed some accountability personally, but also just to have kind of role models and just good people to come alongside of me. And so I think that was one of my big draws, just good humans. I mean, ethical, honest, great people. And when you're that way, sadly is a rarity in our industry sometimes. And so when you find those guys, we really had aligned already in terms of what our business models looked like, in terms of our service, kind of forward thinking. And then, I mean, to kind of pile it on from there, my wife and I started a staging company about 2 years ago. They were using us for all of the stages. And so, I mean, it was like, we're literally doing the same exact thing. There is so much synergy at this point. We're in each other's office every day. You guys have converted me to pour over coffee, and I've become a coffee snob. Like, pretty much. I mean, we're all using the same stinking phrases. Why are we not doing this together? And I think, especially kind of to go back to the learn, earn legacy, right? It's pretty hard to build a legacy on your own. Not that it's impossible, but I think to have vision and power of three people is certainly greater than one. And that was really the kind of the other driver too of, man, I could be stretched real thin. I've got a great friend that another agent that came with me, big Carl, Uncle Carl, as the kids call him. And, but I want him to build his own business, right? He's helpful in capacities where I need, if I have a need, like I can't be in 2-3 places at once. But anyways, all that to say, I think I wanted to have something with these two guys where I could build something just so much greater than myself. And, I think ultimately, I don't, was it Henry Ford, right? Give more to the world than you take from it, right? I mean, I think that's kind of sort of our mindset, I think, ultimately on what we want to do beyond real estate. So
the words that I wrote down here that I just want to acknowledge, because I think it's really important, because sometimes we get so focused on like, I want to go build something. And what I have found in my world and the people that I have built stuff with, Matt, you being one of them, is good humans that you find synergy with, if you are aligned with a group of people, of good people, those people as a group can all sit down and say, kind of like, what do we want to build? Where do we want to go? What do we want to do? You can move mountains with good people that you have synergy with. I've seen it on race teams. I've seen it on all kinds of stuff. And it's like, well, what makes that team work? What makes these guys? They're all in alignment. They all are synergized together. It's a really powerful thing. So I love how you said that. Those are the two things that really stuck out to me.
Yeah. Who, not how, right? I mean, that's another, that's a big part of kind of what we do too, right? We talked about putting signs out. We talked about, things that, could I do them? Absolutely. But is that going to take up some of the time that is best served doing other things? Absolutely. I think that's kind of where each of us are. You know, I'm no longer the young gun that I once was starting out, at 25, and so you've got that that sphere with Jonathan. You've got myself, which whatever phase my children would call me old, but
Wise, the wise
uh,
old man, the wise old man on the
I
hill.
am middle aged, apparently, and then we have Joby, who's he's got kids in college, so we're all kind of at different phases of life, but each of us have our own strengths and fortes, and that's kind of how we've established this here and here too.
Well,
But
I think one thing to hit on here too is where when even when you started your team, or at least what was going to be a team and now has evolved into this, combining of operations into this awesome partnership that you have, is you look at it as a way to, how do I leverage my best, most productive time, right? And how do I get more of that? And most people will say, hey, I need to hire people or I need to build a team so I can bring in more sales. And the truth is, like, if you're the best at the sales and you're not that great at the managing side, then hire to replace all the other stuff that's not sales so you can go attract more people. And then also hire so that you can focus on the personal service aspects while you can have other people handle the operational services like signs or paperwork. I mean, you would, when we started, you had just let go your transaction coordinator. It's like, it didn't go well. I don't think I need to have one of these things. And then, a year later, it's like, yeah, we probably need to have, somebody helping with that aspect because it's taking you away from communicating with your people. So I appreciate that. And so what is one lesson that maybe you've learned through working with people who, not from the partnership side, but people that you hire and bring into the team? What's helped you find good people? Obviously you mentioned Carl, who's a good friend as well, but there's other people that you have brought in the team recently. You've brought in an assistant into the team who is a great hire, but you guys were very diligent in that process. So how do you identify the right people now to bring on? You identified the right partners, but how do you identify the right people to then hire?
yeah, and in that TC's defense, my old one, she was not given appropriate expectations, and so
Yeah,
that
we
is
talked
my
about that
fault.
too.
Yeah, that's my fault. I said I'd be doing 2 to 3 transactions a month, and that did not happen. So there was a reason she was in the weeds. Yeah, I think as far as those hires, we just brought on a director of operations, incredible. Used to be an agent, has been a um, assistant to many great agents in the city as well, and ended up being at a place that just wasn't the right fit for her. And so ultimately we interviewed her. We realized that there was a personal connection through a friend of a client technically, and so we just I think really setting expectations is probably the name of the game with anything in real estate. If you can set expectations, if you're hiring a VA, right? Like write that list down, because I sure didn't with my first VA, of what that entails, what you need. I mean, eventually I really fine tuned it, but then of course, we had to part ways. And so I think all that to be said, setting expectations, writing out what you need, and then just making sure it's a culture fit and a fit for what you ultimately are trying to do. Um, we had a brand new agent, sharp guy, sharp as a tack. But right now, like we're not in a growth mindset from the team standpoint. and certainly not with someone that is just fresh out of getting their license and fresh out of college. And I think he's going to be an unbelievable agent. I think he's going to be successful wherever he goes. But I think staying true to kind of what your core value is, but also your core belief and really that vision, at least in the short term, while you're trying to weigh some of those hires, I think is a big part of it. Always like, always like hires that there's personal connections with. In some capacity, they tend to work out very well. And then again, you got to love on them. We have our director of ops, Karen. We have kind of our first contact to contract is a new role for me that I haven't had before, with Sydney. And then she runs with Joby and Jonathan's transactions beyond that. And then I have Stephanie as my transaction coordinator. She's unbelievable. But so we definitely have a lot of help.
So going back, looking at when you you first brought on a transaction coordinator, and you said very much up front, the failure point on that was the communication of what that was going to look like. And I find this to be the breakdown in most transaction coordinators hires is people go, oh, I've got this director of operations. And then there's all this frustration around it because nobody really knows what that person's supposed to be doing. Even the person that hired them doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. And this wonderful person that has all the skills to crush it if given the right direction, but is not an entrepreneurial mindset. They're not building their own business. They're working for you. And they're going, what do you want me to do? How do you help communicate, or have you found any strategies for yourself of keeping those people so that they go, I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Wes, thank you. I know the job at hand. I can go handle this now. Do you have like SOPs you've built out for them? Do you have an operational manual you can kind of hand to those people? Do you have a whiteboard that just says, here's your job? Like, how do you communicate that to those people so they can be successful for you?
Yeah, I tell him to talk to Joby, my partner. He's great. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, I mean, we do have weekly meetings. And so I think, again, setting expectations, we did draw out SOPs. All three of us just kind of went technology off. Let's dive in and dial into every single part of our process. Jonathan is a process guy. I mean, he is a freak in the sheets in terms of Excel. The guy loves spreadsheets. And so it's just one of those things that we sat down and we created every single box that needed to be checked for a role. What would come off of one person's plate for this new person that would then open up other things for that person. I mean, it took time.
Weekly
and we're
meetings.
still fine tuning it.
So weekly meetings, how long? Because I find these are the most important and these most overlooked piece of keeping good communication. How long do you do your weekly meetings for? And are they optional for people to show up to, or is it a mandatory, like we need everybody in here? This is important.
It's just our director of ops.
Okay.
And then all three of us.
Okay.
And so 30 minutes on Mondays. I think once you get to 45 an hour, you may have heard of Dan Martell. He is, we don't need hour meetings, right? I think everything can be quick, concise, break it all down, and maybe it's less than that, and then we move on. Same with our other full-time admin. So everyone kind of is on the same page at the beginning of each week.
Good for you guys.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important because then obviously director of ops knows then what she needs to manage, admins know what they need to manage, and then the agents get the best of that as they come down. Because how many other people do you guys have with you outside of your support?
There are 5 full-time agents.
Yeah.
Some of those ranging from, if one who's very fresh, very new. So we didn't need an additional newbie. And then someone that's as seasoned as 5, 6, 7 years. So we definitely kind of a nice array of experience, but 5.
I like it. So you have the structure set in place. I want to kind of slide over to the branding side of things because this is something that you do very well from a personal brand perspective and going into last year, you're like, this is going to be authentically weird, right? was what you had said. And the brand journey has been interesting for you because you went from, luxury brand to traditional brokerage brand and just kind of following that brand, and then to like, hey, I'm going to go to EXP and build my own brand, and we're going to do all the things and build the pillars. And I even remember your 8x8 to kick off that brand, which was awesome. And all along that journey, you got, your personal brand was always there behind it, but you started leaning into it more and more and more. And then now that other brand that you built, the Four Oaks brand, it's still right there in the heart. I still got my Four Oaks hat as well. But then you're just like, cool, I'm going clockwork, right? And so what's your kind of perspective, point of view? How do you feel about brand, right? Like personal brand versus like a team, like what people traditionally think of branding as logos and colors versus like the authentic personality that's behind it. And how has that journey evolved for you?
Yeah. Man, I mean, great question as per usual. It's definitely been a journey. I think ultimately people are using you for you, right? And I think it took me a long time to figure that out. Was with a very small boutique, starting out, and then ended up, quickly kind of changing gears to a great firm in Charlotte. Still have great relationships with tons of agents over there, and even the owner and brokers in charge. I mean, if I saw her today, I'd give her a big old hug. She's awesome. And then, as much as I dog on EXP, it's a great model for a lot of people, and there's a model out there for everybody. And so I think it really just depends on what your goals are and what your business, what you want that to look like. For me, I felt very isolated, and so that was sort of what served as the catalyst to pivot to Compass. And Compass, obviously, I mean, huge brand. By the numbers, the number one brand, but the best brand that is out there. And I think even then, I am still trying to differentiate who I am from all these other people, because at the end of the day, you could have an agent with, you know, XYZ, ABC, and Compass, and if that person doesn't necessarily jive with me or someone else, I think the brand only gets you so far. And I think sometimes the brand gets you maybe the foot in the door, and it's got some extra tools, but ultimately, you're going to be the person that ends up earning the business one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I really kind of came into my own with that last year. I mean, mind you, that took me 7 to 8 years to figure out that people weren't using me because of this or because of Four Oaks or because of, Compass. That will provide more introductions and certainly more exposure than anything else. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be, me, if they like me and if they think I can do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, my words of the year were authentically weird. And for anyone that ends up looking at social media as a result of this, condolences in advance, because it is just a crazy place. If you're not weird, you're boring. So I put it all out there. So yeah, it's fun, but I think this past year really taught me that was definitely the way to move forward.
Well, I believe in that you are the brand. And I've watched many people move from the office that they thought was making them be successful. And then they move over to another place, or they start their own company, and they're like, nothing's changed. I'm like, yeah, because you built an incredible brand of people that know you, love you, and they want to follow you and do business with you. It's not because of the company you're with. As you said, it'll get you a foot in the door. Your Instagram, though, so it's funny. If all of you have been listening here to Wes as we've been talking, Wes has got this nice, calm demeanor, and then every once in a while he'll throw in like a little line, like a little bunch of words that makes you go, "Did he just say that?" That's how all the videos are, and it's really funny because you do it in such an authentic way to you that it makes you kind of grabs your attention for a second. It's not off-putting. It's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. But it's one of those ones of like, did he just say that? And then you are all about the client and about what the job that you're doing for that client. And I think you walk a very fine line, but also a very calculated line of building a brand that's authentic to you while not making it about you while taking care of the client, which is a really unique place that I think a lot of realtors miss. A lot of realtors, we talked about it, are trying to like make it all about them. And I always look at a lot of videos out there. I'm like, is it about their client or is it about them? And we have a huge mass of people going to about the realtor. And it's like, are they realtor famous or are they really doing the work for their client? You've done a great job with this. When did you kind of find this groove for yourself? And if you get a chance, anybody listening, go check out Wes's page and roll down through some of the videos, because the first one on there right now, there's a one-liner right up in the front that made me go, whoa. But it all fit in with what the authentic part of that video should have been.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I'm not sure I'm worthy of any of that praise, but yeah, the occasional zinger doesn't hurt. I don't know. I mean, I've always thought video is definitely it's what's more fun. My wife would say that I for any of these videos, I just do what makes me laugh, and then as a result, it makes other people laugh. I don't. I mean, so I hate social media, which probably sounds weird to say. Matt knows this. I think it's such a time suck, and I try to avoid it. But I also understand the value of it, and that's why certainly I've leaned in some capacities. Like I don't have a huge follower count. I don't have, anything I do is used in conjunction with what I'm doing on a day to day, right? I mean, whether it's the forward calls, whether it's the notes, the touches, the lunches, those are the things that are really the highest and best use of my time. But if I can post something stupid that makes people laugh as a result, I think about the primary and master bedroom debate that Carl and I did. I mean, we had more people reach out about that, and again, I am no viral sensation. I'm not that interesting. But when you do that, I think it's just fun, and it makes it fun for me. And the clients, they like it too. And I mean, honestly, you probably see the graphics sometimes of you can get a couple thousand people to look at your stuff. Like that's a lot of people.
It's a
Like
lot.
people,
Try putting 1,000 people in a room, right?
right?
And be like, oh, that's meant. I just talk to all those people. It's a lot of people.
That's all I need. I don't care. I don't need the millions and millions. I mean, whatever. I mean, if I can get 1,000 people to look at what I'm doing, awesome, because it's hyper local. It's people that I know, or it's people that I've met in an extension of them. That's it. It's not where I'm trying to earn my business. It's for someone to, I mean, it's a digital business card. It's for people to say, hey, this guy is kind of funny, and he, as my mom always said, has a face for radio, but he looks like he comes from a good place, and he would serve us well.
So Jess Babington is another realtor that is just north of you up in Lake Norman. And we interviewed Jess a little while back. And when you look at her social media, I asked her a while back, I'm like, who are you attracting in with this? Like, what kind of business does this give you? And she said, oh, this is all for my people that know me. She's like, this is not going out to the masses across the world and had them go like, oh my gosh, I want to use Jess Babington to go buy my house in Lake Norman. It's her people that go, yep, there's Jess, and having fun and representing her clients. And I feel like yours kind of goes along that same line. It definitely represents the clients. But like one of your videos, which was with the 3 lines for the day, which was always be closing, location, location, location. And was it honey, stop the car?
That was it. That was it. Yeah. I mean, and there's I mean, anti-realtor stuff that just makes us cringe sometimes. The keys, right? I've got a great key idea for a video.
I'm waiting for this one, man. You've been talking this one up.
I know. I time, man. I just keep running out of time. So, anyways, there's just things that I like to poke fun at, and I think all of that, you could spin off and look at comparison with social media. I mean, I've muted most agents because I can't look at that all day, every day. I mean, you also look at J-Babs, as I call her, Jess Babington, and that was my first brokerage, as you know. And so, I mean, what an incredible job she's done with her people because she is the brand, certainly not the brand being her. That was probably my issue up there. But I mean, she's done an unreal job building what she has, and she's a great human.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
I think
love J Babs.
something that has been fun being with you over the years to see you evolve, because I had the opportunity to meet you in person a few times, and once before kind of you started doing content on social media, and anybody who knows you personally knows your personality, and that's the opportunity that agents have on social media, is to share their personality through the work that they do. And you started leaning into that in a big way, and I was like, this is the Wes that I know, this is the Wes that people know, and that's the Wes that people are just going to want to be constantly validated on, right? It's like, yeah, there's Wes doing his thing, and it's hilarious. The master primary thing was outrageously hilarious. I love that one. And you create, and by doing that, you're creating content that's driving conversation, right? And we talk about this a lot, is like, okay, there's people who are trying to create content to become realtor famous or to attract brand new leads, which no problem with those pathways either. But one of the best ways to build sustainability in your content and have fun with it is to create content that drives conversation. The only way to do that is to be who you are, because then people get to know you. Because yes, someone might reach out on the listing. Welcome to 1235 Main Street. It's got this beautiful whatever. And people are like, yeah, maybe they'll double tap on that home and be like, hey, I want to buy it. Probably not in most scenarios. But if you have a fun time with something like that, people are like, there's my guy, Wes. Send him a message. Hey, man, you knocked it out of the park with that video. Oh, now we have a conversation going on, which keeps the relationships alive, and something that you've leaned into a lot. Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. I would never use somebody that was like, okay, I love their personality, but it makes my house like be the second stage here.
Right.
Like there's a unique part there of being able to be that agent that can bring this unique personality. It goes like, there's Wes. And I love how he presented my house. Like I love the light that he put this house into. And if you go watch your videos, Wes, not you go watch them, but if anyone wants to go watch Wes's videos,
I refuse.
You've seen
Yeah.
You've seen them.
Wes Collins CLT, by the way, on Instagram.
It's a
I got that
great
right.
way to go, okay, he's brought his personality into it, and it's a really great setup of the house. And I think that has to be there, because if I had a good realtor friend of mine that I was like, yep, there's my friend Matt Benelli, ha ha ha, so funny. And oh, it's too bad how he presented that house, because he was just trying to be Matt Benelli through that whole darn thing. Got it. I wouldn't. It would be hard for me to go, that's how I want my house represented. So something to pay attention to.
This journey of the personal brand, to kind of pull this in here on the brand side. So you made the decision. Okay, I'm going to. Obviously there's still branding from a team perspective and things like that occurs, which makes sense because we need to be identifiable. I mean, the original brand comes from like, hey, whose cows are whose, right? But in terms of the personal brand aspect, if you could provide a tip to somebody, because it was a long journey for you to be like, oh gosh, it's me, this that I really got to lean into. What was the thing that helped you have the confidence to lean into you? Because I'm sure when you started to do that, there's also like, is this going to work? Are people going to think I am weird? And I don't want other people thinking I'm weird. So like, what was the thing for you, or the things that you lean into to help you have the confidence to just accelerate your personal brand and bringing it to the forefront for people, even though you don't like social media?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just stopped caring. Right. I mean, I think I just stopped caring about what other people's opinions were about, being kind of feeling, I don't know how to articulate this, but probably, I feel like social media has created almost these like confines of what you need to do, between whatever your posts are. But I mean, in any capacity, like I hate posting numbers. Like posting numbers gives me the heebie-jeebies, and it's so uncomfortable for me. I don't know why. I think probably because in the back of my mind, someone long ago was like, "Oh, you made this much money." I'm like, "Well, no," but like I don't need that. And so, but social media and those that post, they're all about telling you what number and real trends they are, and I mean that's what the requirement is to show quote unquote success. Um, I think I just stopped caring about some of those requirements and kind of just wanted to create my own narrative of, hey, let's have fun. Let's create this plan so every listing is treated the same way in a lot of regards. Whether it's a $200,000 listing to a $2.5 million listing, and let's present the best service possible, regardless of that price point, and see, you know, what we can do. Right? I mean, luxury is not a price point, it's an experience, right? I know I have a friend that says that. It's a lot cooler when she says it. But anyways, just I think that's probably really what it is. I mean, I quote all these books while we're talking, like I actually read, but the subtle art of not giving a what. I mean, that was a big catalyst to probably me saying, like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, why am I so concerned about what these guys think or what these gals think? And so um I'd probably attribute a lot of it to that. And then I think, again, another book. I'm just going to keep bringing up books. You have the Purple Cow, right? I mean, basically, he talked about cows, and that's what made me think of it. Just that was really my thought on being weird, and just being myself, because everyone does the same thing. Like, you're not going to stand out. Like, it's
Yeah.
boring. Everyone does the same crap. Do something different. Do what makes you happy. Do what brings you joy. If it's the same thing, then great. But like, put your flavor and put your spin on it. There's so many ways you could go with any sort of content, with any sort of post, with any sort of social media. I mean, you're just doing this in conjunction, either for yourself or for your clients, but just have fun with it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
there's a lot to be said about being yourself and leaning into yourself and being unique. And we just read the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and he talked about no two people are replaceable for one another. And I think that that's an important thing to understand for yourself, is to, like, there's nobody else that can be you. So you might as well be you all the way. Like, put it all out there. And you said stop caring and be yourself. And I think the catalyst to this, to really let that work in the business world in growing something, goes back to what you said very early on, which was you must be a good human. I think if you are a good person, if you intend well for the people around you, and you fully stop caring and like really say, okay, I'm just going to be myself and I'm not going to worry about this too much, being the good person will allow all that to move in alignment with one another into a good space. If you're not a good person, or if you are willing, ill will amongst people or your competitors or things like that, and you're like, I'm just not going to care anymore. Like, I'm just going to go all in, and like, who cares? Like, it's not going to work well in your favor. So I think that I love this stop caring, because I find that we compare ourselves to one another so much that we're so down on ourselves. We never let ourselves be our true self. But if you're a good person at a core, be yourself. Lean into it. I think it's something that we all need to do. And most of us are good people at a core, just to back all up.
Love it. Well, Wes, I don't want you to leave yet until we talk about builder relationships, because this is a new area you've been leaning into. And I was driving through Charlotte this past weekend, and we weaved in through a few neighborhoods, and there are projects everywhere, littered all around the places, because when people think builder relationships, a lot of times they're thinking, oh, large tracks, that kind of thing, maybe kind of more of the smaller. Obviously the big national brands have their own sales force, but tell us a little bit about this path that you're leaning into, how you're building those relationships. One question that a lot of people ask, like, well, how do I build a relationship with a developer? How do I go find the builders? How do I do that? I don't even know where to start, but you're doing it successfully, so far. And I know there's a lot more runway there for you to go down, but tell us a little bit about this part.
Yeah. Real estate income is great. Commission income is great. I think finding a way to differentiate. My financial planner asked me, hey, if the market tanks and craps on you, how are you making money? I was like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'll still be selling, but that was maybe the first that was always one thought, I think, right? And then I think, ultimately, coming from a teacher background, your first couple years in real estate, like I didn't have a big nest egg. I've got 3 kids. They suck up all my money, and so the thought was, how do I grow kind of this nut that I've got, and see what goes from there. I mean, in terms of introductions, I mean, you definitely meet people along the way. I think a lot of the core ninja principles end up really helping in that capacity. I write to these guys, hey, I don't bring them flowers, but I write to these guys and just say, hey, great, great transaction, great to meet you. Looking forward to seeing you down the line. I'm not asking for business. I'm not. It was just a great transaction. My folks were super happy, and the guy who's become a great friend of mine, I mean, ultimately, I sold probably 7 or 8 of his flips over the last handful of years, and just buyers look in that area, that price point, really sweet spot, 4, 5, 6, $700,000, and we just kept seeing each other, right? And then I kept calling him, hey, what do you have? I've got people looking. Let's do it again. Um, I got him good on an appraisal one time, and he will always bring it up. Made him come down like, oh, it was gross. It was like 50 grand. And he was like, yeah, that sucked. But it was like one of their first transactions too. So they just didn't know any better, and they didn't have representation. And he wasn't my client. And so I had to look out for my client. We got the price dropped. I mean, they were so pumped. I feel guilty thinking about it. But all that to say, having those relationships, staying consistent with those people. There's 3 or 4 builders that I work with. I don't know if going beyond that is necessarily my goal. I think ultimately leveraging probably some form of a development company would be the next play. We've got a partner agent or a friend, I would say, who's becoming a friend, kind of a mentor in that lane, that's in another market. And trying to learn from them what they do, I think is going to be a really big important factor of kind of what goes beyond this. But I think it goes back to my sense of humor aligns with his. I did all this stupid crap on social media, and he thinks it's hilarious for some reason. And it's just one of those things that it kind of goes full circle to you know, I'm attracting the people that I'm supposed to attract in my life, and then there are definitely probably other builders who think I'm an idiot, and that's okay too, because I don't want to work with them either. So I think just the authenticity has been a big part, and then finding a deal, right, is always the big thing. In our market, we have a lot of small builders that are doing, I don't know, 8 to 10 homes a year, sometimes even less, right, 3 to 4 homes, and so it's such a small operation that they don't necessarily have a broker unless they are a licensed broker themselves, as some are. But if someone brings them a deal, then they're going to let you list it on the back end. And so I think that's been a big part. I've presented a couple opportunities to different builders, and that's really gotten the foot in the door. But then on top of that, I'm just, I'm always trying to support them however I can. But don't harass them for the business. Don't. I got people sliding into DMs of these guys like they don't care.
I think it's really different though to bring them an opportunity. Like I think a lot of people, their number one approach is I'm going to call these builders and see if I can work out a relationship of how I can represent them, and I'm going to show them all my stuff. I'll bring all my packets of information. I'll win them over some way. And one of the best things you can do is be like, I've got a piece of land over here that I want to run past you, get your opinion on it. Maybe you have a use for it. Bring an opportunity into their world, make a friendship, write them a handwritten note. Really nice to meet you. Appreciate your time. Like that is probably one of the best things you can do. And it's the approach probably least taken. But if you talk to the people that have built the real quality relationships with builders, it's probably the number one way that you'll find that they actually built those relationships was bringing them value, which developed a great working relationship. So I love that you kind of went into that. It's just the approach that so few take, bringing them value.
Yeah, what are you going to bring a brochure and say, look what I can do? Like no one cares.
It's been done.
Like, they don't
tried.
care. They don't care. No. And the one that we have right now, it's something that I personally, I mean, I bought the land. And so, and you don't have to buy the land, right? I mean, you can always just present an opportunity. But now, again, year 10, now I have a little bit of ability to do that. And so, partnered with a friend, and we bought the land, and then we are going to have a nice return on the back end, hopefully. We will. I'm going to manifest that. But all that to say, that was something that now he knows I'm financially tethered, that I'm invested in him. I believe in him so much that I'm putting this much down. Like, holy crap, like this guy does trust me. And I do. And I think that's really, you build trust, you build friendship, you build rapport. I mean, probably do all of that just in the opposite manner. But yeah, it's been great.
And this all goes back to synergy with good people, right?
Right.
All right. That
And
might have
coming
to be the
from a
title.
service mindset, right where you started, you're like, I'm more service than sales. And I find anybody who's been successful with developers, it's how can I serve this person? And even if you're sitting there like, yeah, but I don't have buyers to sell them, I don't have an opportunity to bring them, great, well then go learn their product and see if you can then go market it to people, for them. Just, hey, let your people know, go share it out there. You can still bring value to builders and developers even if you don't have anything. You just have to be aware that you have value to bring and try your best, and not just go look for what can that person do for you, but what can you do for them. So I love it, Wes. This is great, man. Garrett, anything we missed? We've hit a lot. There's still more stuff we could talk about. Want to be mindful of time.
Yeah, it's interesting, and in the notes that obviously Matt you'd sent over to me before we got started is that, and I think it's important to point out that you have a lot of moving parts in your world. You are married, you have 3 kids, as you said, and part of this is also finding balance for all of this, or harmonization for all of this, so you can spend time with these people you love, and also learn, and now in your earning phase, to build a legacy that's going to go on after you've decided to say, hey, you know what, this has been great, this has been fun, but I'm going to move along here. And I know we didn't talk a whole lot about how you harmonize and the time you get to spend with your family, and I know that's super important to you. So I think I brought it up here. Yeah. How do you balance that out real quick? Like, how do you make sure that you have time for those important people while giving time to this legacy that you're building?
Yeah. I mean, you find a way, man. This is the busiest year I have ever had. I know that there are always going to be people that are busier than me. But I still I want to be there for my son's little graduation from kindergarten to first grade. I want to be there for the gymnastics performances at midday. I think just making time for that and for them, like those are the things that are also important for me. And I would say they are also the inspiration and really what drive me, right, is as a provider, I want to provide to them anything that not anything they want, but anything they need, right? All their needs. They're spoiled brats, but no, I do love them, and they're awesome. So yeah, it's definitely, you just make the time, and there's definitely events that, man, I sure don't necessarily have that time for, but I think that's also, could I do 100+ transactions a year? Absolutely, right? I mean, we'll see. We'll see where we're on pace for this year. But all that to be said, it's not 100. I think this year is kind of my first year where I'm trying to figure out, am I doing too much, or do I need to kind of reel it in? And then disperse that amongst either the partnerships or other agents, because I do feel a little spread thin. And so I think this is kind of that first year where I really feel kind of what's the give and take. And so, bringing people in on different partnerships. If people are looking up in an area that I'm not familiar with, or I don't have particular relationships with, I'm going to refer it out, and I'm cool doing that because those clients will be best served up in that area as a result. And so, yeah, I think just finding what you need, what makes sense, and then just figuring out what your priorities are, and that's definitely the way.
Yeah.
Luckily, you've got Matt as your coach. I know it's not me because I screwed up
No,
years ago, but
no,
you
it's
know, at
definitely
least
not
you got
you.
Matt in your corner to help you.
Definitely not you. That's
I
right.
know.
We work a lot on that calendar and the schedule and all that stuff. I love what you said there, Wes, because I think even when we get busy, there's choices that we can all make, right? And it's what are you going to prioritize first? And you know, you make the choice, and everybody has the choice, and there's nothing wrong with the choice that they do make, right? Um, but I appreciate the energy that you give into that, and you also now work with your wife too. You guys started a staging business together. You figured out, like, hey, I want some more time with Kristen. Let's just do some staging. Why not, right?
Other than no, certainly not. I do not work with that staging company. That is her baby. I stay in my lane. Again, like times like I don't need to be doing staging installs,
No, you don't.
right? Like, I mean, and again, there are great people and agents that do their little fluffing and their staging. Like, I'm not that kind of girl. That's just not what I do. It is not my forte. And so I am better served to redirect over there. You know, she's got her warehouse now. We probably have probably a dozen, 12 to 14 different homes worth of staging,
Wow.
which has been great. She's serving other agents in our market and just starting to get more and more calls because it's a gift that I don't have. And so outside of financially facilitating from time to time and with the startup, I stay way away from there.
I'm
So
happy there are people like you or her that will do that because a warehouse full of like 14, let's just say, potential houses worth of furniture sitting in it that I could pick sounds like somebody's dream. Absolute nightmare for me. That would be
nope, nope.
appreciate her doing that.
Hell on earth. Hell on earth. Hard pass. I am out. I am
The
out.
operational end intrigues me a little bit. I'm like, huh, that's
my
a lot of
gosh.
moving parts we gotta
And,
pull
yeah,
together.
it is interesting. But no, it is great. But yeah, I would definitely say that you just have to figure out what your priorities are and create this hierarchy. And I think, you go back to, you mentioned calendar, right? I don't work Sundays. I don't want to do that. I maybe show once or twice during the week, like weeknights. And then I reserve half a day on Saturday. In the event I have people, I mean, people come to town, right? There's always outliers, there's always things, but
You have
I
a
mean,
lot of people who do travel in to buy in Charlotte too, so it's not like they can go
right. We do a
necessarily as
lot of,
often.
we have a lot of relocation clients. We've got some, I mean, really, really cool buyer tools we'd even talk about, leveraging some AI tech. And then, yeah, I mean, 60% of our buyers in Charlotte right now are from out of state. So if that doesn't show you that we deal with tons of relo, I mean, I don't know what will. But yeah, you just prioritize and create that hierarchy and figure out what works best for you.
Love it.
Charlotte's done a great job of attracting in outsiders here for a long time now. I remember when New Belgium Brewery first opened there, and it was kind of one of those like, really in Charlotte? Like, I wonder what's kind of going on there. Like, kind of brought some attention. I don't think that was the only thing that did it, but it was interesting to watch as it kind of became more on the map and more people were talking about it, especially on the West Coast. All of a sudden, it started to kind of buzz a little bit more as people were going like, wait, there's other places in California. Like maybe we should go and move into the rest of everybody else's worlds, being a Californian. But Charlotte's an incredible area. You are in an incredible city that I think is going to continue to grow and build for a long time to come. A lot of great
Yeah.
opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 14th largest at this point, and there's no, somehow secretly, right? Like sneakily, it's almost forgotten in some areas. But now it's, yeah, definitely it's on the map. There's way more relocations. We do a ton from California, New York, DC, Ohio, huge conglomerate of Ohioans. They're a strange group, but no, that's
We get them down here in Charleston too.
yeah, it's all right. It is what it is. But yes, it is a huge hub with the airports, with some of these major tech I mean, anyways, I don't need to give
Yeah.
you the whole spiel. It's just fascinating. Growing up here and seeing where it is now is fascinating. So
Well,
it's interesting.
Well, Wes, as we put a bow on this episode and wrap it all up, is there anything that you want to share as any last thoughts? And also, if people want to connect with you, how should they reach out and connect with you?
Sure. If you feel so inclined, social media is probably the best way. I guess you could randomly text me. That's fine too. If you email me, that'll get buried and lost. No, man. I mean, this has been great. It's always been fun to listen to the people you've had on before, right? Long first time caller, long time listener, type of deal. And so, no, it's been fun, and yeah, interested to probably not listen to this. I hate the sound of my own voice. So,
Oh,
uh,
you'll listen to it. You'll listen. Your wife will put it on the car. Just wait. Matt, any last thoughts?
No, man, Wes, I just want to say thanks for joining in. It's Wes Collins CLT on Instagram if you want to reach out to him in that medium. And I'm sure if you just Google his name, you'll find him. But he's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Wes, appreciate you, man. Been awesome many, many years together, building our friendship as well. And so appreciate you a whole lot. And thanks for coming on and sharing some wisdom with the audience.
yeah, I hope just any little nugget was worthwhile. And if someone's still listening to this point, then God bless them.
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody. Wes, thank you to you. Matt, thank you to you. To all the listeners out there, if you want to follow more of these episodes of what we're putting out, please check us out on social media. You can find us on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, please hit the subscribe and the like button to this episode and comment if you can. If there was a great takeaway that you got out of this episode today and listening to Wes, or any of the episodes you listen to, please comment on it. Those go directly to Matt and I, and we'd be more than happy to communicate with you and share amongst your thoughts. If you want to check out also what we're doing in our other world, which is the 11 Circle or Life at 10 Tenths, you can come join us there. We have a lot of different ways you can get involved with us, from just having a space in there on our app that you can check out and get easy access into our episodes. We have another level there where you can jump in and we give you a little piece of gratitude and things to think about every single day. And then if you want to jump up to our 11 Circle, that's our group coaching, where we have amazing people like Wes in there that we get to work with once a week. Group coaching, we bring special guests in like we're going to have today, and would love to have you join us in there. So if you have any questions, reach out, let us know. Other than that, Matt, thank you so much. Wes, pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.